Hey folks, Marcus here again from the Ashland Fly Shop, and we're back at the vise to tie another fly. You know, normally I sit down at the vise in our videos and I kind of just whip something up, something I've been tying for a couple weeks, sometimes a pattern of mine or inspired by other folks usually. Today I just wanted to do a replica. This is the Hoh Bo Spey. Probably accounted for as many or more steelhead than any single fly that you can buy right now, unless you're kind of including the traditional stuff. But it's one of my personal favorite kind of body shapes and types of fly. So I'm going to show you how to tie the Hoh Bo Spey. I'm going to do it in black and blue today. It's a really versatile color option, but as far as colors go, you can really go wild because there's a lot of great options, and it's just a good platform to work off of. So I'm going to fit into my vise. This is a Senyo articulated shank. This one's 40 millimeters. They also make them in a shorter 25 millimeter. I think either could work for this fly. So I've got it in the vise nice and solid. I'll start my thread right up near the eye. I've got 50 denier black thread, and I'll just come back to the back portion of the shank. And I don't know if this is the way that Charles St. Pierre designed it, but the versions that we buy from Solitude just have like a fire line type material hanging off the back. Instead of wire or anything like that. So I've got 30-pound clear fire line. I'll cut off a section of that. And I've got size 2 owner no escape hooks. I'll grab a hook out of there. And I'll kind of line up the ends of my fire line and feed them through my hook. And then I'll just kind of gauge for the size of the fly how much I need hanging back there. I can even hold it compared to the bin version and get it pretty dang similar. So I'm going to have about that much hanging behind the fly. So I'll tie it in right here. And I just try to make sure that my sections of fire line like that, like when they twist on top, I like to make sure that they're riding more or less on top of the shank of the fly. So it takes some, keeps wanting to slide off there because it's a thin shank. And if it cants a little bit, I can always correct it. But I want to make sure that I'm going down the top of the shank as I wrap up forward towards the eye. And the reason for that is it'll just give me, after I come through the eye here, it'll give me a nice 180-degree bend on that fire line, which I like. So I feed them through the eye and then just wrap back down. And I'll clip this. And if you get those tag ends, these shanks have a bend back eye on both ends. And if you get that fire line to be close to where that bend back comes back, that's a good spot. So I'll do a couple wraps of material, wraps of thread to kind of secure everything. And then I'm going to tie in a guinea feather. And this is a fly where I want a pretty large guinea feather. So I've got an old pack of pretty big guinea feathers that I've saved up just for today. No, just kidding. They weren't saved for today. They just happened to be what's left over in this pack. But I tend to like the larger ones for this fly because we want enough stem. We're going to tie this in from the tip and actually wrap it up through the body. So having a pretty large piece of guinea is going to give you enough material to wrap all the way up through the body. So I've cleaned off the fuzz. You could use half of the guinea if you wanted just, you know, light barring through there. I'm going to use both sides, and it'll just give nice barring through the body of the fly. I'm going to come through and just get the tip of this feather, and I'll just tie in that stem all the way through the body. That's fine. And then if you're using ice dub, you could just dub it on, or you could make a dubbing loop. And this will just give you the ability to pick out this body a little bit more once we lay it on. So I'll come forward pretty much all the way through the fly, just leave a little room for the head. I'm going to get some wax in my loop. And then just hold it straight until I can get my dubbing. And the color to use for the black blue is the Steely blue. You can use a lot of different colors, but the production model has the Steely blue ice dub in there. So this is actually longer, like ripple ice fiber, which is a longer material that I'm just going to cut into the lengths that I want. I'll just cut little bunches, just like you would with ice wing fiber if you were using it for this purpose. Then I'm going to open up my dubbing loop. Just fit this stuff through here. And you can always put more than you think you'll need in there. And you just got a big kind of chenille. And I'll do kind of one round with that guy, and then all right, so I've got it nice and picked out. This is a little bit more material than what you'd find on the bin version of this fly, but I'll show you. You can lay it on there, and if you think it's too much, you can always trim it to the length that you want. I'm going to come right there, seems good. And then I'll just tie this guy off. All right, so I've got my body material. You can see it's a little thicker, so they just use ice dub in the production fly, and you can certainly do that. You can get that effect if you want, where you just trim this material. Wow. You got to cut that out. Yeah, cut it out, Chris. All right. So I am going to trim this guy down a little bit. But that's the nice thing about ripple ice fiber is you can throw it in a loop and then just trim it to the length that you want. It's cool stuff too. It's got little crinkles in it. And then I'll grab the Guinea stem, and you just want to make sure, so this stem is not super long to make it all the way through the body. So you can kind of gauge how much room you've got, but you want to, like right now at this trajectory, I'm not going to have enough stem to get up to the eye of the fly. So it's good. You can kind of plan that out. So anytime that happens where you're wrapping and you don't think you need enough, you just need to start with a more aggressive angle and just keep that angle. And then those wraps, if you keep that same angle coming up through the shank, then you're going to have enough of that material on there to cover that body. And it's, you know, just like that, it's not a bad thing if you start once and you realize that there's not enough of your Guinea there. You just unwrap it and start over. So that's what it looks like with both sides of the Guinea. If you wanted a sparser body, you could just wrap with one side of that feather. But I think that looks pretty cool. Then we're going to put a little Marabou on top here. And I would choose, for this length of fly, you'll want a long enough feather to reach back towards the point of that hook. So we'll want some pretty long Marabou. Let me see if I've got the right stuff for the job. And they produce this fly in a size 2, like I'm tying now. They also do a size 6, which is a cool, depending on the color pattern, cool little trout spey fly too. It's a great Scandi summer steelhead fly. As is this one too. On a Scandi line, you can throw the size 2. It's unweighted, and that's really the cool thing about this fly. It is so versatile. You can use it in the winter with a heavier sink tip. Pretty much just let your sink tip help you get it to the section of water that you're trying to fish. You can use it all summer and fall. It's just been like the Hoh Bo Spey is like the all-time producer. Hard for me to think of a fly since I've been steelhead fishing that's been so widely used, so fishy in so many applications. It's got a bunch of movement. So there you got the profile. I actually, you know, on the ones that we get, the hook hangs a little bit further back behind the Marabou. I have a preference for like this, where the hook is, the Marabou comes back behind the point of the hook. I just think that's, in the long run, probably going to be a little better for the fish to have the hook closer up to the fly. So then we need some flash. They use Flashabou in the original one. I'm pretty partial to Krinle mirror flash, and like the original, I'm just going to use a little bit, just a couple strands on each side. Just to give it some translucence. I'll do one more. Trim them to length. But yeah, if you want it to look exactly like the version you can buy in the shop, I'd just use a little bit of blue Flashabou. One of the cool things in this fly is the barring that comes through it, and that's achieved with Amherst. And we used to carry Amherst here at the shop, and we stopped carrying it for a while because the prices of the full tails kind of went up quite a bit, but we've started carrying just recently third sections of them. So we're going to sell the third sections of these Amherst tails, and you can get all the use out of them. A little bit more practical, I think, for people, because they'll be a lot more cost effective than the full tail. But that's something to look at on our website, is these sections of Amherst tail. And I just laid in a little bit of Amherst on my near side. I'm going to flip the fly over, match the length more or less. Get some going on the far side. and you get this nice barring through the fly. You can put it all the way around the pattern if you'd like. I'll put just little bits on the top and bottom. And that just gives it, kind of complements what's going on through the body to have that Amherst over the top. So right now I'm going to whip finish because this fly does not end in black thread. So I'll clip my thread there. I'm going to grab my orange thread. So I've got it clipped there. And then I've just got fluorescent orange power thread that I'll come in. Not about building a big head, just about having a little fluorescent spot on the top of the fly. And then I'll whip finish again. That's just going to give the fly a little added attraction in the water for the fish. Get my UV all the way around the fly. Then I'll light it up. And that's it. It's a pretty dang simple fly. It's one, if you wanted to just crank out some flies ahead of your season, if you're guiding or something like that, if you're tying flies for friends, if you want some flies that can just really be versatile in a lot of different situations, like I was saying, you know, on a Scandi line in the summer, the Hoh Bo Spey is a very nice option. Skagit line, summer and winter, wintertime, spring, steelhead. I mean, this thing can go anywhere and catch a steelhead doing it. So that's the Hoh Bo Spey. Thank you very much for tuning in.